Is there anything you're going to do to try to, I guess, make it a little bit safer than other positions?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about that. I should probably know this, but I don't know if umpires will have to wear masks or not. I think that would be one thing that would help, but obviously you can't expect the batter to come up and wear a mask, or a catcher to wear a mask during the game. Um, you know, it's a it's a bad habit, but a lot of us as baseball players are used to spitting as well, and I think that's going to be an issue. Right? Is from what I've heard, that's through water droplets and moisture is how this thing is spread. And so I think there's going to have to be an effort to try your best not to do that as well, because unfortunately it's second nature a lot of times.
Alex Alvarez, your line is open.
Hey, Buster. Obviously, 60 games, it's important to get out to a fast start. What's the biggest key for you and your team to get out of the gates hot and get out to a good start here at the beginning of the year?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's to be honest with you, I think right now we're just trying to navigate these first couple of days and get our bearings straight. Obviously, I think priority number one is trying to stay healthy after being out for not being on a baseball field together for the last 3 months. So, the old cliche, one day at a time, but I think health right now, even from a physical standpoint, is probably paramount.
All right, and we will go next to John Shea. John, you are unmuted. John?
Yeah. Hey, Buster. Sorry.
How you doing?
Thanks for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, Samardzija was talking about amping up to 75, 80 pitches
Mm-hmm.
before his first start in LA. And, based on where he was the first round and what he's been doing and what he expects to do, in these coming 2 or 3 weeks, including the A's exhibition. And I wanted to ask you what your feeling is on is that a little bit much in your mind, even for Samardzija, with this new way of thinking and what you've heard from your new manager? And how do you see this rotation playing out overall in terms of workload and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously, I can't answer that for Shark. I think he would have to be the one that can answer that, and certain guys will probably, or maybe in different places right now, based on some of the facilities they had access to over these last 3 months. So I think it's obviously very player dependent, and then you got to trust your medical and training staff and what they're seeing, and make sure you're giving them honest feedback on how you're feeling. But ultimately, that's I think combining all those factors are going to give you the best idea of what type of workload guys can have, at the start here in about 3 weeks.
Sam Pasco, your line is open.
Hey, Buster, I'm just a little curious about what's the camaraderie level right now with the guys? Are you still kind of learning everyone because there are some new guys, or have you kind of got a chance to meet everyone yet?
I mean, we got, to know each other fairly well I guess we were in spring for 4 weeks or so. So a lot of old faces, and the new faces got to spend some time with them. There's some guys here in camp that some of the younger players that I don't know too well, but I don't know how much we'll be crossing paths, to be honest with you, with the way they're kind of breaking up the practices here going forward.
Back to Henry, your line is open.
Hi, Buster. How you doing?
Good, Henry. How are you?
Good, thank you. I had two distinct questions for you. The first one is, was your family, people close to you, able to escape the disease, or did you have to deal with it at all?
Fortunately, nobody in my family has contracted it yet. I've got 3 grandparents still living. My wife has 2 grandparents still living, and they're obviously being very cautious. But no, thankfully, no, nobody's had to deal with it.
That's great. Glad to hear. The other question was more of a baseball question. Um, to me, it looked like a typical first day of live BP, where the pitchers, clearly have a little bit of an edge. Um, I just wanted to know how the pitchers looked like to you, the ones that you caught and the one that you had to swing against. And in a normal spring, you'd have about 4 to 5 weeks of live BP or games to sort of catch up. This year, you're going to have I think it's 19 days between the opener, and it'll be a little harder to catch up. So what are your thoughts on both the pitchers and facing them right now?
Well, I caught Gosman and Webb today. Both of them looked great. I thought Webby in particular looked really, really good. His stuff was electric. It was, I thought, a tick or two up from the spring. And, again, they both looked great. And no doubt, the hitters always start off a little behind. I think, the hope is it's one of those deals where it's like you come out in spring training and the first couple of weeks you feel great, and it's like, all right, I'm ready to go now. Obviously that's not going to be the case for everybody. And it's going to be a different situation too, because we're not going to be playing games, I guess, potentially playing the A's 3 or 4 games. So there's no doubt there's going to be challenges that's going to present. And you're just going to have to make the best of it as you can. I don't know what else you can do about it.
King McCauley, your line is unmuted.
Hi, Buster. Thanks for doing this. Nice to see you. I'm not sure if I got on here for the first question or not. You weren't there yesterday. Is everything okay? I'm not prying, just checking. And also, you had come into spring feeling so good about your swing. How did you sort of, how do you keep the momentum a little bit when you've had a long layoff? And what did you do that will allow you to, find that groove right away again? I know that may not be realistic, but at least try to get there.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks for asking. Everything's fine. Just had something to take care of with my family, but all is well. And then to answer your question about hitting, being here in Northern California the whole time, I think that, by and large, from my perspective, the state's done a nice job handling this and been very cautious about it. But some of the downside for that, for somebody like me, is I haven't been able to access a facility, right? So it's been at my house, hitting off of a tee. But I was able to kind of ramp up the number of swings, increase the number of swings I was taking, and just really try to swing with intensity as much as you can off of a tee. And that's what I've had to do. I got with the hitting coaches and put together a plan and followed the plan for, I don't even know how many weeks it ended up being. But yeah, that's, again, that's one of the challenges that you face, but you got to do the best you can with it.
And Buster, Freddie Freeman tested positive today. Here's a high-profile player. Is that just an example of how real this thing is we just don't know what even 2 weeks from now might look like for baseball. This is a start, but who knows what's going to happen each day.
Yeah, I guess if I look at it as a whole, like from the country's perspective, I feel like back when there was rumblings of this, people were like, oh no, you don't need to wear a mask. Doesn't help. Now people say wear a mask all the time. And people said that you could get it off of a table counter. Now they say you can't. There's just been so much information that we've had to decipher. I think you're right. I think that the landscape is going to continually change, and we're going to have to adjust and modify how we do things. And that's just the reality of the world we're living in right now.
Maria Guardado, your line is open.
Hey, Buster. What are your thoughts on the implementation of the universal DH? I know Gabe has already mentioned that he thinks it might be a way to kind of give you a breather during the regular season.
Yeah, I think for this season it's a good thing. I think it'll give some guys some extra bats for sure. To be honest with you, I haven't really put a lot of thought into it for what it means long term, or even if it is on the table for long. I mean, I know it's on the table where it's at as far as negotiations go. So I think for this shortened season, I think it's a good thing.
Chris Alvarez, your line is open.
Hey, Buster, thanks again for doing this. I didn't get a chance to talk to you at spring, but when I was at spring, a lot of the players talked about the energy Gabe brings and the way you were moving in and out of drills. What does a Gabe Kapler camp look like?
Right now or back in spring?
I guess maybe the energy, just, obviously you've been under Boach the whole time. So what has he brought to the team in a different maybe atmosphere or attitude about what you guys are going to try and do this year?
Yeah, he's definitely a high energy guy, and I think it's intentional as well. I think he's using different tactics, whether it's, some upbeat music, just the way the body language that those guys have, walking in and around the ballpark. It's just, it's hard. It's hard to say. This is just so different now. I think we're going to – it remains to be seen how influential it can be in a lot of aspects just because of some of the precautions and protocols that we have to follow.
Andy Baggerly, your line is open.
Hey, Buster, it wasn't long ago that the Giants drafted a catcher in the first round, and then we all went to you and asked questions about what does this mean for you, what does this mean for the organization, and you talked quite a bit about mentoring Joey. I'm just curious now that the Giants have drafted another catcher in the first round, what do you know about Patrick Bailey? Have you talked to him? Has the front office sort of shared some of their thinking behind the choice at all, or what's sort of been the background for you?
See, I don't know him. I don't know that much. I read up on him a little bit once he was drafted. And no, the front office hasn't talked to me what their plans are. I mean, I would assume they were taking who they felt was the best player, in that spot. But their job is to try to get good prospects in the system and good players that are going to come up and help the team. And my job is to try to, be ready to play baseball when it's my time to play baseball. And part of that responsibility as a baseball player is mentoring. It is talking the game with some of the younger players and sharing some of your experiences. And, baseball is a game I love. So I want others, especially in the Giants organization, to thrive and have great, long, successful careers.
Mark Sanchez, your line is open.
Hey, Buster. Good to see you.
Hey, Mark.
Back to the virus for a second. We've seen a lot of guys around the league opt out. Was that ever a thought in your mind? Was there any hesitation in coming back?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there's still some reservation on my end as well. I think I want to see kind of how things progress here over the next couple of weeks. I think it would be a little bit maybe naive or silly not to gauge what's going on around you, and not only around you here, but paying attention to what's happening in the country and different parts of the country. Obviously unprecedented times right now, so most definitely I've thought about it and talked about it with my wife quite a bit.
John Shea, your line is open.
Well, to follow up on that and to ask my own question, is it a possibility? Are you leaving the door open to opt out?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think I'll answer it the same way as I think that, I'm gonna watch what's going on and keep communicating with my wife and pay attention to what's going on around me here at the ballpark and what's going on, in the country. So I mean, I'd be surprised if you asked any player if they gave you a hard line, no way, I'm not going to opt out ever answer,
To go back to Alex's question about the social distancing, you're the only position that doesn't in a baseball game. And what are you going to have to do to be more careful if you're not going to wear a mask? How are you going to shield against a guy, whether he spits or not? There are droplets, like you said. And how concerned? What's the concern level?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you have to a certain extent, you have to trust some of the testing. Obviously, it's not going to be bulletproof, but I do know that the medical staff's taking extreme measures to make sure guys are getting tested every other day. So I think you have to trust that to a certain extent and understand that there's some inherent risk involved there. But I guess to answer your question, I don't know what you would do other from the catcher standpoint, other than wear a mask while you're catching it. I'm not sure how realistic that is.
All right, a couple more for Buster. Barry Bloom, you are unmuted.
Hey, Buster, how you doing?
Good, Barry. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you're safe and well, and your family is safe and well.
Thanks. You too.
What do you think about? Rob Manfred said the other day that we'll be lucky to get through a 60-game season. Based on what you've said already, how do you project it? What do you think is going to happen as you're watching what's going on around the rest of the country?
I think the way I would project it is I wouldn't be surprised by anything at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if we played 60 games with no hiccup, and I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't play a game at all, or I wouldn't be surprised if we played half the game. That's just the variability of this to me. And I just really think that there's no way we can give a hard line answer one way or another to what this is going to look like a week from now, much less 2 months from now. I think you got muted.
Yeah. Sorry, Barry. All right. You're unmuted again for a follow-up.
Okay, thank you. But you're confident, though, that it's going to be safe enough to play under the circumstances with all of the things that have been part of the health and safety parameters that have been installed?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, again, I don't think you can take anything with this disease for granted just because there's still so many unknowns. And but it seems like, people that have uncompromised immune systems or are not elderly seem to bounce back. I mean, but you do have the cases as well where it hits some people hard. I think the biggest concern for me is, protecting the people that are going home to those people that are compromised or older. But, again, I don't even want to say like, everybody would be completely fine, because I don't think that's a fair statement for me to say, because I'm not well versed enough to know whether that's accurate or not.
I'll take the last one from Chris Alvarez. Chris, your line is open.
Buster, it's the 4th of July, and baseball players are used to playing on this day. Do you have a favorite 4th of July memory, whether it's in the big leagues or youth, and what does playing on the 4th of July mean to a baseball player like yourself?
Yeah, 4th of July is obviously a very special day for this country. My 4th of July memories in the big leagues anyways, we've been in Washington, D.C. a couple of times, and that's a cool place to be on the 4th. And we've played – it's like an 11 o'clock game, and for whatever reason, it's like the hottest games of the year every time at 11 a.m. And I can just remember, the excitement, the national pride, you feel at a game like that, and remembering all the people that have sacrificed so much for this country that we get to live in and be ourselves in. And it's an honor to get to go out and play on this day. So unfortunately, not being able to do it this year is a little bit of a bummer, but we can still honor and remember those that have put their lives on the line and sacrificed their lives so that we can be sitting here today having this conversation.
Sorry, we got one more from Andy Bagley, and then we're done. So Bags, go ahead and take it.
Hey, Buster, just to follow up on a lot of the thoughtful things you've said about the conversations you've had with your family and not knowing how this is going to go. I mean, you guys are trying to do this. You're trying to restart the season, and to this point, just getting here, a lot of guys have taken some risks. What makes you believe, if you do believe that this is what you're doing to this point it feels right. It's the right thing to do.
Well, I mean, I think to your point, you have to make the effort to, in my opinion, in my instance right now, I feel like you make the effort, you get here, you take a look around at how things are going. And, I think we all just have to be somewhat cautiously optimistic right now. It's just, again, it's such a strange time. I mean, I'm looking at you guys wearing masks on a computer screen right now. I mean, what are we doing? It's like, there's that thought, you drive into the city of San Francisco and I mean, nearly every person you see has got a mask on. And I know it's not the same in all parts of the country, but I think that's a perfect example of the way things have gone. Is there's just people are not necessarily seeing eye to eye on how this disease is going to progress or has progressed. And ultimately, I just still feel like there's unknowns. I mean, that's kind of where I'm falling on. There's unknowns, and hopefully we have more solid answers here as medicine, makes advances.